I really wanted to do this in a British accent, but I got nothing, so I'll keep it in the American accent. This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 145.
Then kind of realised, oh my God, I've not known what I've been doing for like 6 months. It's weird, it's like a bombshell, and you're like, wow, now I kind of actually understand what I was looking at all this time.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host, who's going to try not to Mickey this episode, Clay Trader.
Now, if you are American, you probably have no idea. You're probably saying, did he just say Mickey? Yes, he said Mickey. And I'm going to try not to Mickey this episode. I don't even know if I'm using it right, but as you'll see later on in the episode, it's some new British slang that I used. So Sarah, please let me know, did I use it right in the fun fact or not? But I am going to do my best not to Mickey this episode. And on that note, we are talking with our first ever British guest, not only British, but she is a female. And I bring that up because, as we discussed, I think she may only be the fourth female ever on the show. So yeah, if you're a female and you want to be on the show, let me know. We would love to have you. But Sarah is her name, as I already said. Her name in the chat room is Like a Glove, and I meant to ask her about that, but I did forget. Another bit of housekeeping is Ches had some travel stuff going on, so it is just going to be me and Sarah, and I get to grill her. And I'll be honest, I told her this in a very jealous kind of way. I'm kind of glad Ches wasn't here because I wanted to ask so many questions, and I got to ask all my questions, so I didn't have to wait for Ches to ask or anything like that. So does that make me greedy? Yeah, it probably makes me kind of greedy. But that is why Ches is not around. He will be back for the next episode. But just some travel arrangements here. And in the world of podcasting, what I've learned is that when you have a guest that's available, you want to take advantage of it because life happens, and yeah, just life can sometimes get in the way. So if there's somebody around, you got to jump on that opportunity. And then finally, in terms of housekeeping, there are some feedback issues going on, which you won't hear, but I did hear. So if I'm speaking over Sarah, or if Sarah's sometimes speaking over me, I promise it's not like we're just going at it. There was just a little bit of technical things going on that made some parts of it a little bit more difficult. So I promise I was not trying to be rude and speak over her or anything like that. But that's why if there's some seemingly awkwardness, it had to do with some of the mic issues. But this was an awesome interview. And again, I don't want to spoil it, but I will say that her first law story is probably the best we've ever heard, to the extent that she went to not believing it was true, to not believing it had actually happened, is pretty mind-boggling, but we had a good laugh about it, and I'm glad that we could laugh about it because, yeah, it really just goes to show how when you don't know what you don't know, and then you factor in the human mind and emotions and all that sort of stuff, things can get kind of goofy, and it can get goofy in a bad type of way, but Sarah has progressed a great amount, and you'll kind of hear that the way she talks towards the end with her current strategy as compared to where she was. But without further ado, again, her name in the chat room, Like a Glove. Let's head over the big pond to London and speak with Sarah. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little nervous right now. Can I be honest with you right now, Sarah?
Of course, go for it.
The accent is kind of intimidating. I don't know if I've ever spoken to anybody. Like, I've heard it in the movies before, but this is a first-time experience for me. I'm a little intimidated. So if I'm stumbling over my words, will you just cut me a little slack? Can we agree to that up front?
Yeah, sure. Do you know what? All my American friends tell me they can't understand half of what I say, and they're like, slow down. So yeah, equally, you can tell me to slow down. It's fine.
That's funny you said that, because Nate and I were talking about you behind your back. When you showed up, Nate sent me a message in Skype and said, "Oh yeah, she's English." And the first thing I said was, "Can you understand her?" So, but I can understand you so far. So
good. We'll get to a point where you probably can't, I imagine. So yeah, you can tell me to speak a bit more American.
Okay, and you won't be offended by that.
No, God no.
Perfect. The other thing I wanted to get out of the way before I forget is a public thank you to you, because you volunteered to be on the show. You sent me an email, which was awesome. It makes my life a whole lot easier. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get people to come on here. So from me to you, thank you very much for voluntarily coming on here to hang out.
Oh no, that's all good. Do you know what as well? Like, I haven't seen tons of women on the show, so I was like, you know what? I'm a British young female. I should get my ass on your show. So that's kind of why I decided to come on.
And I will echo that because we do need more females here. I think you're just number 4, sadly. If I don't think I'm missing anybody, but I think you're, and this is episode 145, and come on, females out there. There's more than 4 female traders out there. So, I promise I don't bite. I'm a decently nice guy. I mean, but I guess we'll find out. We'll see how Sarah feels after all this. But yeah, I appreciate you, girl power type thing, right?
Yeah, no, it's weird. It seems to be like more of a male environment, but sometimes I have the ego of a man, so. It's kind of, generally they say like, it's good women they have less ego when they trade, but maybe that isn't quite what I've been like. So, yeah.
Well, right off the bat, self-awareness is the key to trading. So at least you're aware of it. At least it's not one of those things where you have it going on, but you don't think that you have an ego of a man. So that's good. You're definitely trending in the right direction. So let's get this whole thing started. I'm very curious here. Also, besides being a young female British woman, I think you're the only British person we've ever had. So you have set the bar, or you're setting the bar as far as British people are concerned. We've been to South America. We've talked to some Vikings, but as far as British,
I remember that
you're the
episode
first.
well.
So with the Viking?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Do you know what? There's no trading community in London. Like, people don't talk about anything. I go onto Twitter and I type in like London stocks, and people haven't spoken about them in like 2 years. It's so boring and so dry. That's why I kind of got involved with you guys, because I was like, why is no one talking about this interesting subject? So that was how I kind of ended up coming across your chat room.
Now, excuse my ignorance, but from my understanding, the London stock market, is a pretty liquid market. There's quite a bit of activity, or am I just? I mean, your guys' stock market's pretty active, right? I mean, not as big as the American market, but I mean, you guys have quite a bit of back and forth volume, don't you?
Oh, absolutely, massively so. But people don't talk about it. There's no excitement about it. Like, people don't. I don't know. I don't know who on earth in this country I could possibly speak to about it. That's the thing. There's no environment for everyone to get together and be like, oh my God, this stock's doing this stock's doing that, and should I sell here? Should I buy here? It's like me on my own. So that's why I'm like coming across the globe, and I'm like, right, I'm going to talk to the guys over in the US.
That's really strange. Like you said, you go on Twitter and there's just nothing out there. When I mean, that would make sense obviously if it was just a very non-liquid market. But I mean, yeah, I wonder why that is.
I think people are just like stuck in their brokerages, and they're just like, they only talk in that particular circle. Or I'm not even in the finance industry, so that might be why as well, actually.
Are they too busy sipping tea and crumpets, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, they're doing that. They're in pubs drinking beer, probably. Like, that's pretty much all Londoners ever do.
You'll have to excuse. I'll probably throw out a lot of stereotypes that just aren't true, but it's just my ignorant American understanding of British people. So
do you know what? They're probably all true, actually. It's fine.
Good. All right. Well, that makes me feel better too. Where did all this start for you, though? I mean, you're obviously already interested in the market, but where did you first hear about the market, and what kind of got you to the point of wanting to get more involved hands-on?
So I was working for a fashion company that was trading on the London stock market and doing like really, really well. And when I joined, they were like, oh, we're going to give you guys some free shares, or you can buy loads of shares in the business, and you'll either get your money back completely or you'll get the extra value of them. So it was like a no-lose situation. I, however, at the time was unbelievably ignorant of the stock market, and I was like, I don't understand this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to bother. Within like a year, the price of the stock had doubled, so I could have made a ton of money, and everyone around me was like all excited and happy about it, and I was like, I'm totally missing a piece of this. So I was spending like more than my paycheck on stupid purchases. So I kind of got to a point where I was like, I need to get involved in this. And a friend next to me happened to mention that her friend who was at university and he was studying to be a doctor was making like £1,000 in the stock market a month. And I was like, if he's a university student, he's like 10 years younger than me. If he can do that, I can totally do that. So I just ended up like buying loads of books, reading tons and tons of stuff on the internet, watching YouTube videos. I was like, right, I'm going to get everything I can for free and just learn as much as I can and try and kind of figure out how this all works, really.
Okay. I sorry to cut you off. You mentioned a part you were missing a piece. Out of curiosity, what was that piece that you were kind of missing way back when you didn't take advantage of that stock program? Or are you still seeking out that piece that maybe you don't feel like you have quite a grasp on?
I think it was like, I hate to say it, but I think I was just a bit financially illiterate. I was like living in debt. Money wasn't really, I was never saving any money. I was just like spend all the time. So that kind of missing piece was like kind of getting to a point where I was like, actually, I'm 28 years old now. I need to sort out my finances a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a lack of understanding of the stock market. It was just more of a piece as far as the personal finance equation was concerned. A little piece was missing there. Is that kind of a fair understanding on my part?
Yeah, I reckon so. But also, like, looking at the stock market, looking at a chart was like looking at something in Japanese to me. Like, I didn't understand not a single thing. I didn't know what a ticker was. I didn't know anything at all. So, yeah, that piece of the puzzle was like me learning everything from new, basically.
Okay, so when you decided that you wanted to get more involved, you mentioned books and YouTube videos. Was that after you had started to participate in your company's stock program, or is that the stuff that kind of pushed you over the edge of finally then taking advantage of that program that your company offered?
Yeah, it was kind of the learning that pushed me over the edge, and then I was like, right, I'm gonna learn about this now. I have like an hour commute in the morning on a train and then a bit of a walk. And that was when I started listening to your podcasts. And then I was like, oh, okay, people are actually talking about doing it from, how they got to where they did. So many other podcasts talk about really rich people or like economists and that kind of thing. But your podcasts were like, I started here, here's where I got to, here's how I lost money, here's how I've done really well, here's my strategy. And it was those podcasts that made me kind of improve what I was doing, I guess, essentially.
I'm having a flashback here. Did you send me some sort of communication about you listen to podcasts? It's got to be you as you walk through the streets of. Did you send me some sort of communication before?
Yeah. Oh my God, that was definitely me. Yeah.
Okay, so that was. I remember obviously the email you sent me to be on the podcast, but way before that, I remember thinking that's really cool that some girl over in like a whole another country is. But so that had to have been you. I don't remember what the message was, but I mean...
Your voice was like in my ears for like 20 minutes every morning for my commute.
Oh, bless your heart. I feel sorry for you. My apologies. I don't... Are you talking to us from an insane asylum, by the way, maybe?
Yeah, you've paid me to come on here.
Yeah, exactly. In Bitcoin. But actually, that's not really a joke anymore because that stuff keeps getting more and more valuable. But
yeah,
so, okay. I need a time frame now that all this is coming back to me. That definitely wasn't super, super long ago. So when did you, month-wise, year-wise, did you stumble upon the podcast?
That would have been in January of this year. So like early January 2017. I think I started coming across it. And I was listening to like 2 a day. And then I was like, right, I need to get involved in this. I need to start doing this.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. And did you have any favorites, or do you have any particular episodes or particular stories or quotes or anything that really stuck out to you?
There was a guy, and I forget his name, but he was the guy that was like charting private jets, and his trading went completely out of control, and he ended up losing everything. And then at the end of it, he started investing in like a charity, and he was spending his money like a lot more wisely. I can't remember what that one was, but that one was really interesting.
Yeah, I know which one. That was like one of the first, I think, 10 episodes we did. So that was definitely an early on one. That's going to drive me nuts now.
He had like a double episode as well. I know a double episode always means like there's something juicy in here.
Yeah. That was, I guess this is the repercussions of 145 episodes. I can't. But yeah, that was definitely a good one. So I guess my next question would be, because for listeners' sake and establishing a timeline. So January of 2017 is when you heard about the podcast. But when did you start buying all those books and YouTube and all that stuff? When did that happen?
That was kind of like all at the same time. I was just like, I need to just throw my education into this. So I was like, I'll invest in tons of education first. I'll learn what the hell I'm doing. And then I'll consider kind of putting some money in. I gave myself like, because I'm quite impatient, I gave myself like a 3-month educational window where I would just throw myself into it a little bit. And then I was like, right, by April, I'm going to start buying.
Gotcha. So when you just started, I mean, it was just pretty much you threw yourself into it completely, and you're just came across the podcast relatively quickly when you got started. So I guess you're learning all this stuff. You're listening to my voice and Chez's voice for a couple hours, with the train ride and then the walk and all that. You're watching YouTube videos. Did you stick to that 3-month timeline, or I guess kind of walk us through what that early learning looked like? I mean, what were you doing to learn? What were you doing to practice? Kind of walk us through that initial phase of things.
You want me to say I paper traded, don't you?
No, I want you to be honest. That's, if you didn't paper trade, that's where people learn. I mean, so yeah, just.
No, I want to sound like a really good student here, and I was like, I want to paper trade, but some of my books were like saying, don't paper trade. It's like, it's a different kind of emotion. And I was like, oh, I should. So I did paper trade actually, but I paper traded for around about 20 minutes. And then I was like, oh, I'm making money here. I can do this.
Well, are you a lawyer? No, you're not. You're in marketing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that's kind of a lawyer statement. You technically did paper trade, so I can't really grill you.
I mean, 20 minutes doesn't really justify that, but I made some money and then decided that, oh my God, I'm really good at this, as everyone probably does. I should have paper traded for longer, and I do paper trade still even now. If I've got like a new strategy I want to trade, I'll definitely paper trade. But I kind of evidently, like when I did start trading, because I'd learned a lot of how to manage risk, I was doing the right things. I was like being really careful. I started off using fundamental analysis. So I was like reading reports and doing all the kind of long, boring stuff really, that I don't necessarily do so much anymore. But I was doing the right things. So I was doing well. I was making money. So I kind of decided, oh, maybe I don't need to paper trade at the moment.
And we won't. So I guess before we get to what I bet has some juicy details, the books and everything you're reading, it sounds like they were more of a foundational analysis, or were you also learning about charts in your early learning?
So the first book I picked up is this guy from London, and he trades from home, kind of like you do, and he was a complete fundamentalist, and he didn't even understand charting, and kind of just he took the mickey out of it. So at that point I was like, oh, maybe charting isn't the way to go, which I do not believe in any way anymore. Like, I think charting is the most amazing way to go. So I didn't chart at that point. And I kind
because
of...
he took what did you say? He took the mickey out of it?
Like, he took the piss out of it? Is that kind of like the same saying?
See, so basically he made it sound like the dumbest thing ever.
Exactly,
is that what that means?
And he almost he said, oh, chartists come to me and say they're losing.
He took the mickey out of it. I heard you though, right?
Yeah. Do you guys say that? He took the mickey out of it?
Okay, I'm gonna start to use it around my family and friends now. They're gonna say, hey, I learned it from my British friend.
You have to say it in a British accent.
You took the mickey out of it. I like it. My British accent sounds Scottish. I was actually practicing before this because I thought I might try to use it, but I was like, no, that will go horribly wrong. But the mickey, excellent. This is good stuff. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. I wanted to make sure that I understood. So this guy is taking the mickey out of charting, and it sounds like you believe it, because I caught the word, you don't believe that anymore. So at this point, it sounds like you originally started off in all this just thinking that charts were pretty much a joke.
Yeah, he kind of said, like, chartists come to him and tell him that they're struggling and that they need fundamental help. So he I guess, essentially was helping them. But he was kind of old, and he was like a bit stuck in his ways. I kind of stopped reading his kind of books because he started talking about how he didn't believe in like technology shares, which I absolutely do. So I was kind of like, actually, this guy is maybe just stuck in his ways. I'm going to take a different route now.
And that route was a new book, new types of YouTube videos. What was that new path you took?
So when I was kind of, basically, I was doing well, but then I got to a point where I started putting longs and shorts on stocks. And I started off doing quite well. And I was like, well, until I get to a point where I'm not doing well, I'm not going to change the system because, as you always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, no, that's good logic so far on your part.
Then I started doing significantly badly, and I would sit there and look at charts and be like, please tell me something. Like, I was looking at all these candles, which I didn't understand at first. And I was just looking at it, waiting for the chart to tell me something, and it wasn't. Like, if you don't understand something, then of course it isn't gonna scream anything at you. So I was like, you know what, you kept talking about charting in all your podcasts, and I was like, right, maybe I'm going to invest in like robotic trading and see how I get on with that.
And you did make, I think you made the purchase, but I'm fascinated. You were looking at the chart, but it wasn't telling. Did you think you knew how to read charts at that point? Why were you even looking at the chart in the first place? If does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're looking at a chart waiting for it to tell you something, but it didn't make sense. So how did you even arrive to charts in the first place?
My brokerage has, like, where I buy my stocks, they have charts. So everything where you're looking at a price, you can just click a button and it says charts. So because I'm super impatient, if I like buy something from IKEA, I throw the manual away and I'm like, I can totally build this on my own. Or like if someone says to me, if you read like first and then you can learn how to use the system, I'm like, no, I can just learn it on my own. So I was looking at this chart and I was like, I can just look at this and I'll obviously learn it. And yeah, it's so not the case. I had to invest in some actually doing the robotic trading course and then kind of go from there, really.
Okay, I would say that you were not lying when you say you have an ego of a man a little bit, because throwing away instructions, I'll do it myself. That's good self-awareness. I'll just put it at that. But that's funny because I can relate to that as a guy. So you get robotic trading, and are you still trading with real money as you go through it? Have you tapped the brakes on your trading? I guess kind of what was your plan of action at this point when you decide to overcome kind of the hurdle of, all right, enough free stuff, let me pay for something. Did anything change or just the fact that you ended up, actually paying to learn some stuff?
So I was in basically what I'd call like a losing streak. I had this strategy, which I now have heard from the likes of Hooch, actually, that it's like the worst strategy you can use. I was basically looking at when companies were going to have earnings calls the day before, and I was looking at how much the price was going up. If it was going up more than like 2%, I was saying, right, the earnings call is going to be good. I'm going to put a load of money into this. And that, the first time I did it, I did really well. And afterwards, it turned out to be one of the worst strategies I could have ever considered. And I started losing loads and loads of money. So I was like, right, I'm going to take a break. So I took a break for and it doesn't sound like very long, but it was like 2 weeks.
20 minutes? 20 minutes?
It was. I actually gave it 2 weeks this time. It was great.
Hey, we're making progress. That's
and then
good.
I sat and literally did your course like night after night after night. I kind of took tons of notes. I was doing videos once or twice, twice or three times more. And then kind of realised, oh my God, I've not known what I've been doing for like 6 months. It's weird. It's like a bombshell. And you're like, wow, now I kind of actually understand what I was looking at all this time. Even in your first video where you were saying where candles start and when they stop, I didn't know anything about that. It was just like, I was like, wow, I've been really lucky that I haven't pretty much lost everything.
And sometimes those aha moments, those light bulb moments, I'm not necessarily saying that people should go the route you took where you can create those for yourself, but sometimes that's just what it takes, and stuff will stick with you a whole lot more. Circling back real quick to that strategy though, because I'm sure a lot of listeners, maybe they're doing it right now, maybe they're thinking about doing it. But if a stock was up, was it 2% or was it just an arbitrary number? But if it was up some sort of number, then your assumption was because the price is up, earnings are going to be good. So you would go long before the earnings, like right before the close. Is that essentially what was going on? Yeah,
that's exactly what I was doing. And the problem with that was sometimes even if an earnings report is good, the market thinks completely otherwise. So, and I'd look at these earnings reports and be like, oh, it's really good. Why is the stock going down? And then I'd go and look on Twitter and no one in the UK would be talking about it. So I'd just feel like I was on my own losing tons of money. And that's why I realised this is not a good strategy. Siphoning through 27 pages of earnings reports, listening to the director of a company talk about how amazing it is means absolutely nothing. It's what the chart is saying and it's what the market is doing that's important.
And on that note, to just kind of piggyback off what you're saying, but what I find funny is not funny that you're losing money, but here you are digging through all these pages of earnings reports, but it's not like that necessarily matters anymore because, assuming I understood right, you already own shares, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like if the market's going down, that earnings report means absolutely nothing. And it's so boring reading all those reports, like so dry.
Yeah, and it's boring while you're losing money, and that's a huge thing, and why I can totally relate to Sarah here, because I'm a terrible, and I've told this before, but I love to play the headline game. I'll look at a headline on my app, and it'll be, such and such, beats earnings here and beats this, and projects forecast. They raise their forecast. I'm like, oh, this thing's definitely gapping up right now. And then I pull up, the pre-market gap down. It's like, see, what, to me that all sounded good, but like Sarah said, just because you think something is good doesn't mean that the market does. And the market is the ultimate judge, because the market, Sarah and I are defining as price action. So if price action gaps down on what you would say to be good, I guess the market really didn't think that was good for whatever reason. And so yeah, it was kind of silly for you to hear that you're looking at earnings reports after the fact, that it's not like that's going to change anything. It's not like that's going to make the stock prices go up. So that sounds, it's kind of like a miserable experience to be reading through boring pages while you were losing money. Was it pretty boring and almost torturous at the same time?
Yeah, it's like you spend hours doing this and then there's like zero reward at the end of it. That was when I was like, I'm not doing fundamental trading anymore. Like I still look at kind of particular maybe fads in the market, or like if people are talking about something quite a lot, I'll still listen, but I do not look through company reports anymore. No.
And my guess, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to speak for you, but when you're listening, I would assume you're listening, where you're then listening to see if it's worth trading. And if it's worth trading, well, let's see if this thing's got any sort of volume and volatility. But if it doesn't, then it's not really worth listening to. Is that kind of how you're defining listening to the fads and stuff like that? Yeah,
exactly. And it's like just going to my chart and looking at kind of, is everything I want to be in the right places? And then I would trade it. So yeah, the charts are still like the pinnacle of what I use now.
Exactly. And I just want to touch on one more thing, because it's such a cruel joke that happens to so many. But as soon as you said it, my ears rang a little bit. But the first time you did this strategy, it worked, right? And you made money?
Like straight away I was making money. But because I was doing the right things as well. It was annoying. Like it was such fool's gold. I was like, I've got it. No one else knows about this strategy. I'm clearly a genius,
It sounds funny, but I will assure her, I thought I found a couple, I thought my stainless steel mufflers were some sort of just hidden gem that somehow all the Wall Street hedge funds and international hedge funds had just missed this company. I found the diamond in the rough. So it's crazy the types of voices that our mind can play. You said you were doing all the right stuff. What do you mean by doing the right stuff? Because you're looking at like fundamentals, balance sheets, and the chart. Is that what you thought by you thought you were doing the right stuff because you were just doing very surface deep, actions?
Thought is so the right word there. Oh, yes, I thought I was doing everything right. Like I had a list of things fundamentally that I should be doing, like looking at PE ratios and looking at, year on year what the company was making. So I was like, I'm doing everything on paper that a fundamentalist should do, and I'm not making money. So I wanted quick wins as well that were like the next day, because of my stupid impatience. And when I wasn't getting it, I was like, right, I need to give up on this. But it was a bad strategy anyway. And I know people still do it, but I would never, ever go down that way again. Even now with charts, I still don't trade before earnings calls anymore, because I just think it's way too risky.
That's awesome. That's a good realization. So it sounds like part of your strategy, if you're going to do a trade, is you check the earnings calendar.
Yeah, exactly. I did actually once accidentally, because obviously I trade NASDAQ stocks now, and I didn't realise there was an earnings call a few months ago and fell asleep and then woke up, but fortunately it went my way. But I always make sure now that I do know when earnings calls are, just in case.
Nice. This is good stuff. So you take robotic trading, to kind of go back to the timeline. You're just having all sorts of light bulb moments and all that. How long, I guess, did it take you? It sounded like not very long if you're going back home and doing it every night, and it sounds like you got through it pretty quick. Is that, or did you actually slow things down, and did it take you, several let me ask it this way. How long did it take you to get through the
So
course?
I was in there like swimwear. I was like straight away. I had the course out of the way in like a week. I didn't see anybody and was completely antisocial. And you know, when you just start doing something and you're like, I love listening to this. So I kind of just threw myself into it, like a lot of the people on the podcast have said, and just, yeah, I was straight away. I was like, I'm totally bought into this. This is how I want to trade from now on.
And it sounds like, I mean, if you went to as far as being antisocial, I would assume that you have quite a bit of a passion for this stuff. Like you genuinely have a good time with it. You're not strictly, I mean, of course you're in this to make money, but it's not like you're in this for a quick dollar, but you have a good time with all this stuff,
you know
right?
what? I treat it like a business, but I absolutely love it. Like I find it unbelievably interesting. I love listening to what like people in the trading room have got to say, because it's always changing. It's always fun. It's still creative because you've got to think about different setups you're going to do. It's just, I don't find it boring, and I love learning about it. I love seeing like new things that are coming out in the markets. I find it really interesting, but I absolutely love it. I definitely wouldn't do it otherwise. I'm always one of these people that like takes up a hobby and then stops doing it in a week. But this is something that I absolutely love.
Yeah, I was going to say you're going on basically a year of doing it if you started to get serious about it back in January of 2017. And I bring that up to listeners just because, look, yeah, you can make money in the stock market. Yeah, you can make lots amount of money. Yeah, you can make it relatively quickly. But if that's the only reason you're getting in it, you don't stand a chance. You will burn out so fast. You will get discouraged too fast, and you'll just, when you hit kind of the hurdles that Sarah's discussed, instead of saying, all right, I need to change things around, you're just going to say, whatever. The markets are rigged. It's all manipulated, blah, blah, blah. Come up with some excuse, and then, that'll be that. So don't, if you're teetering on the edge, do not get involved in any of this. If it's just purely for the money reasons, you got to enjoy the challenge of it. You got to enjoy, more to it than just, the money is a byproduct of the passion that you should have for this stuff. So just make sure that you're getting involved in all this stuff for the right reasons, as Sarah, and you can hear it in her voice. She is passionate about it. She enjoys the challenge of it. On that note, before I forget, Sarah, what do your friends think about this sort of stuff? Do they think you're like some sort of pocket-wearing geek now, or what is their perception? Just kind of this new little lifestyle change almost.
Yeah, well, none of my friends are in the financial industry really. So everyone's like a creative, or they're kind of in marketing, or they're cameramen. So I don't really have like anyone in the financial industry. So they don't want to listen to me talk about it at all. So I generally don't too much. But every now and then they see me carrying a book and they're like, oh, what are you reading? And then I'll just kind of say. But since I've kind of started to do a little bit better, now I have friends saying to me, oh, do you want to invest my money and things like that? So, which I'm not doing because I don't want to risk that just yet. But I don't really talk about it with my circle too much because I'll bore the hell out of them. They don't want to hear me banging on about Bollinger Bands over dinner. But that's kind of why I use like the chat room, because it's a nice place to be able to talk to people who are kind of doing what you're doing, really.
Yeah, that do want to talk about Bollinger Bands, right? Because, who doesn't? That's hard for me to believe that people don't want to talk about Bollinger Bands outside of the chat room.
I think it's interesting.
I guess we're just the weirdos. So, okay. I guess at this point you are trading. We've established that. You did say earlier that you were trading NASDAQ stocks. So what is actually kind of your strategy look like? And start off from more so a routine, because I'm very interested in this, because you are, I think, 6 hours ahead of Eastern time. But I guess just walk us through, how do you actually even fit trading into your day, given that you're in a literal different time zone?
So I still kind of do trade the London stock market. So I'll kind of, I'll check kind of, because I've got stocks that I invest in for the long term, and I'm just keeping them sitting there for years because they're kind of just going up in a straight line. So those ones I tend to just kind of look at in the morning, but I can leave them alone. And then I'll go to work for the day. And when I finish is kind of when I log on to the inner circle, and then I kind of start looking at perhaps setups for the day. I have certain stocks that I know really, really well, and I can kind of see patterns in them. So they're always sitting there, like Facebook, for example.
Such as?
Facebook is probably the one that I know most, I guess.
Okay. Do you have any other ones that you are kind of your bread and butters?
Probably like Apple, Weibo, Snapchat, don't want to talk about fangs too much because I think so many people are just like, that's all they ever buy. And I think there's so much more than that. But there's just, sometimes I just kind of know where they're going to go.
You don't want to Mickey too much on the fangs?
Yeah, I don't know if you've used that right there, you know.
I didn't use it right there. That's not how you use it?
Yeah, it'd be like having a joke on something. I guess I don't want to... everyone always talks about fangs. Like, everyone's always like, oh, I only trade Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, and Google. But the technology stocks are the ones that I kind of like to keep my eye on the most.
Now, what time... So you get back from work and you're doing all your setups, you're looking at stocks. Is the American markets already open at that point? Or are you still getting back? I guess, what's the dynamic
So you guys
there?
open at like my 2:30 in the afternoon. So most of the time I'll try and like take a late lunch break so I can kind of trade for about an hour. Sometimes, like, the markets I've noticed are always a bit crazy in the morning in the US. There seems to be a lot more volatility, and then they tend to kind of settle down a bit towards the afternoon. So then I'll trade for kind of an hour, listen to what you guys are saying, see if there's anything I like, and if there's not, I don't trade at all. But and then I'll go back to work for a bit, and then kind of on my commute home, I'm like looking at what I can trade, and then when I get home, I'll generally kind of see if there's anything in the evening that I want to trade as well. And then you guys stop trading at 4 p.m., isn't it? So that's like my 9 o'clock.
Okay. You made a statement. I'm curious. You check the chat rooms to see if there's anything I like, quote unquote, anything I like. A little more details. What is something that you would like? I think this will be a good example of how everybody's strategy is different, because, I mean, how you would define something could be different but somebody else. But this is your podcast. So anything you like, how are you defining that?
So any kind of, like, I guess, gap ups or gap downs, anything with like a lot of volume, I always like to look for. Anything that's kind of over or under extended on the Bollinger Bands, I always quite like. This is a weird phrase, but I love dead bodies. Kind of.
I know exactly what you mean, though.
They're the kind of setup side that I like to look out for. So, yeah, if anyone's kind of put an alert, because I'm based in London, I don't have like easy access to NASDAQ alerts, or I don't know where they are at the moment anyway. So the chat room's a really good way for people to kind of like say this stock's trading really well. So yeah, they're the kind of things that I'm looking out for.
Okay, no, that makes good sense. And I asked that because, you know, anything you like, that sounds good, but when you actually break it down, that's such a blanket statement that, you know, as a listener, you could say, oh yeah, I just got to find stuff that I like. Well, that's like a big part of trading is you have to figure out what you like. And there's so many things to like or to dislike that is why there is no one-size-fits-all trading strategy, because Sarah could like something that totally works for her, but for me, because of my personal risk tolerance, I may be like, ugh, that's nasty, Sarah. Why would you like that? But that doesn't make Sarah right. That doesn't make me right. It's just a matter of personal preference. So don't go into the market saying, yeah, you got to, you know, buy low, sell high, find stuff you like. That doesn't mean anything. That it sounds good, but there's a lot more to it. And as you saw, just me asking her to define like, and all of a sudden she's talking about dead bodies and Bollinger Bands and volume and all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot more that goes into, you know, just general words that, you know, get tossed around probably a little bit too often. Now, Sarah, are you just going long, or are you doing shorting type trades too?
I do short as well, but less often. I think it seems to me to be a tiny bit harder to make money shorting, but I do definitely do it. I once accidentally shorted Snapchat after having a few drinks too many. And I was on my way home and I was like, oh, it's going down. And I'd had like 4 glasses of wine. And I actually made some money. But after the next day, I was like, I'm never doing that again. Like, do not trade when you've had a drink.
Well, you know what? At least there's not fool's gold here. And you're thinking that that's the winning strategy, that, hey, 4 wines is the magic bullet. That's the key. So this is all trending in the upwards direction in terms of 20 minutes to 2 weeks, you know, fool's gold to now 4 glasses of wine. No, that didn't work out. Okay, so that was probably like a happy hour type thing. You're just coming back home after a happy hour, and then because I'm trying to, I got to remember that you are in a totally different time zone. So it's not like you're sitting there boozing it up at like 10:30 in the morning. It would make sense within that context. Happy hours you were coming home from the pub.
And if it was 10 a.m. in the morning, my day probably wouldn't be going very well. So yeah, it was in the evening. Yeah. But then again, I guess it was at like 8 p.m. So what does that say about me? But yeah.
Well, 8 p.m. That's fine. I mean, that's not like 8 a.m. If it was 8 a.m., we'd probably have to have a separate call or an intervention or something. But yeah, 8 p.m. No problem there. No judgments on my part. I don't think there's anything wrong there. So, is there? I mean, you already kind of answered it, but this is a good example, and this was not staged. But you say you find it harder to make money shorting, whereas for me, I find it easier to make money shorting. So I guess that's why you don't short. I mean, what do you like to short? Do you have any sort of certain setups that you will short, or is it just kind of if you stumble across something that makes sense to short? This fascinates me because, like I said, for me it's like, oh, I love to short, but I don't know. Maybe just curious, what setups would actually catch your eye from the shorting perspective?
I guess it's kind of like everything I like to long, but the opposite way round. So like all the moving averages going downwards and they're all nicely like in the right direction in placement to each other. Like really high volume in the red candle, red candle, red candle. I have made money shorting, but I seem to just do better when I go long, really. But I think I just need to learn a bit more about shorting, I guess. I know you've got a course on it and I've had my eye on it for a while. So I think that might be my next thing to do.
Okay, and if it, like you said earlier, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But just a fascinating topic to me because I like to short. But what you described, that I would say that makes good sense. You got a good bearish river, good moving averages, all pretty and sloping downwards. So that does make sense. Now I like to talk about this, and I know you're aware of this question because you've listened to many. But on the topic of losses, beforehand, I guess there's a couple of different instances, but just in general, losses, kind of how did you view them? What did you think? Did you automatically think you're a terrible trader? But I guess just losses in general, how did you deal with them from a psychological standpoint? And then you fast forward to kind of present day, how do you view losses? How do you deal with them? Is there any sort of mind tricks that you kind of use on yourself to make them easier? But just trying to talk losses back before you didn't really have much of a strategy, and then talk losses now in terms of, more so from the mental perspective of things.
Yeah, so I'll tell you about my first biggest loss because I went into work in the morning and I came in a bit early that day, and I don't know why, but I happened to look online and saw this particular stock that had like doubled in value that day because they were going to get bought. I didn't have too much knowledge of the market at that time, so I was just like, oh, I'm going to get in on this. Just ran in, bought it. And then my boss was like, oh, we need to go into a meeting. And I was like, oh, right, fine. Went into this meeting. I came out halfway through for some reason. I think I was like going to the bathroom or something. And I looked at the price and I'd lost pretty much 90% of my account. And when you want to like vomit up your own stomach, I didn't even know what to do. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, my boss comes back and he's like, come on, you need to come back. And I'm like running into this meeting, sitting through this hour of some guy talking. And I was like, just panicking. And I came out of it and I was like, oh my God, I've lost like so much of my account. So I got out there and then, and I realized that so this is how arrogant I was at the time. I was convinced that the price was wrong on the brokerage. So I phoned up the brokerage and I was like, I need to speak to the manager right now. And I was like, dude, your price is wrong. Like your quote is different from your live quote.
This is a true story?
This
actually happened. Anyway,
this is good stuff.
I must have been so convincing that he said to me, oh yeah, you're right. We've quoted it in American dollars. So I was like, yeah, I'm right. And I was like, look, here's what you're going to do. You're either going to give me all my money back or you're going to just make up the difference. Like, I don't care. Just get me my money back. Anyway, he calls me back in the afternoon and said that he's really sorry, but the quote was 15 minutes delayed and I'd been looking at the delayed price and thought I was buying that. And actually I'd bought the live price and then it had crashed. And I said to him, I was like, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm new to this. Can I just have all my money back? And he was like, oh, no, that's not how the markets work, And he's like, I'll talk to my manager about it. And he obviously didn't, because why would anyone do that? And he ended up coming back and was like, I'm really sorry. Like, this is how it works. You've learned your lesson. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And so I took that loss and I was like, right, I need to like stop trading and running into meetings and trading in work hours and that kind of thing. So let's just say I didn't take that loss too well. I was like, right, I need to put myself in timeout now and just stop doing stupid shit like that.
I need to just give you props because I don't know if this is an award that you necessarily wanted, but I think I'm going to award you, I'm going to knight you with possibly the best loss story ever. I mean, it was literally to the point where you called up your broker and was like, what's up with these, the prices? You demanded your money back. I was
like asking to speak to the owner as well. I was like, put him on the phone. I want to speak to him now. It's like, yeah, ridiculous.
That's good stuff. Well, I mean, you know what I mean by good stuff. That's a good learning experience. So the human mind is a crazy place. But from that one, obviously you still had much more learning to do. But how now when you take a loss, I mean, how do you view it? Do you still get all frustrated with it, or do you kind of just move on from it? But hopefully we're at kind of like the flip side of the coin here. But talk with walk us through a loss at present day now. Whenever you stumble on one.
Yeah, so I kind of went through a phase of like my risk versus reward ratio wasn't very good. I was willing to kind of take a $500 loss, but then only like a $50 gain. So I decided I needed to work on that, and I switched that around. I pulled my emotions out of it. And now I like taking a loss. If I've taken a loss, it means like it will always be a small loss. It will be a small amount of my capital, and I'll be glad that I'm completely out. So I'm more than happy to take a loss. Like, I think a quote I read by like this guy called Paul Tudor Jones said, if you're a good trader, like it's not about making money, it's about protecting what you have. So taking a loss to me is just about protecting everything I've worked so hard for. So I'm so cool with taking losses now. It's fine.
No, and I like that quote because, as I say quite a bit, trading has zero. Let me say that again, listeners. Zero to do with winning. A freaking blind monkey can find a winning trade. Trading has everything to do with what you do when you are wrong, and that's where the money is made in trading. What happens when you are wrong? So that's why I love to hear Sarah say that she likes taking losses, because that means that she knows that they're going to be small. She understands that there's always another opportunity around the corner, and that her account is there to fight another day. And I don't expect you to have all these stats, but what's kind of an average winning trade for you? And when you say like smaller loss, or when you do take a loss, what does that loss look like?
So I guess hypothetically now, like a winning trade might be like 400, and I'll only risk the biggest loss I'd take is like 50. So like $50 I would lose, but I'd probably be willing to take 400, something like that. So it's so much smaller now. Like it's just so much easier. So when I'm losing now, it's like, that was fine. I'm out now. Like, it's easier.
And do you ever capture those $400 type, the ups, the potential reward, in your hypothetical, numbers here, the $400, do you ever hit $400 winning trades when you were only risking 50?
That's talking of like maybe a really, really good day.
But it is possible. It's not like it's happened before.
Yeah, definitely possible. I kind of work, because I did your kind of RVR trading course, I kind of work at a 3-to-1 ratio now. So I need that cushion factor, and it needs to be right, basically.
And the point here to the listeners is maybe think, wait, she can win $400 and only risk 50? Yeah. So that means that you can take quite a few. And remember, 400 is best case. So there's probably some $100 wins in there. There's some break evens. Maybe there's some $200 wins in there. Then there's a $50 loss, maybe a $50 loss, and there's $150. But the numbers over time, if that's what you're working with, really the numbers have no other choice to go but up. Because remember, a blind monkey can find a winning trade. Now, yeah, there's more to it. You got to know how to manage and stuff like that. But even if Sarah just hits one of those $400 wins when she's only risking $50, maybe let's just say, I don't know, once every few weeks, still, that's a whole lot of $50 losses that she can now make. But you got to remember, within all that, there's a bunch of break-even trades. There's a bunch of $50 wins, $200 wins. So that's good stuff. And from where you were talking, literally calling up your broker and all that whole story, to the way you talk now, I would say you've made quite a bit of progress. Are you feeling, how's your confidence level? Do you feel pretty confident when you're stepping in front of the computer and, starting to get ready to execute some trades?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm much more relaxed now. I like it when I choose not to trade. And sometimes one day I'll be like, oh, there's nothing I like here, so I just won't do anything. Someone's like, I think one of the guys in your chat room was like, no, actually, it was a podcast. He was like, he wants to be bored, because it means there's nothing to trade and he's not making, dumb mistakes. I used to kind of say, like, if I was having a loss, I'd be like, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. And then I'd be like, okay, I'll wait till it'll break even. And it would just keep going down and down and down. And my emotions would get worse. So I've just completely changed all of that. And now I'm like, I still want to keep learning, but I'm so much more confident when I press the trade button now. And I can almost walk away from my screen because I know, because I've got stop losses in the right places, I know that if I miss something, it's fine because I'll get out.
Yeah, no, that's and like I said, it's one of those things where, and maybe you've seen this in the chat room too, but we love new people. There's nothing wrong with new people. We were all new, but when people are new, you can kind of just tell by the way they talk and the logic they're using that they're new, and that's totally fine. And the way Sarah is talking now, and any veteran trader would attest to this. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. She is definitely on the right path. She's continuing to improve, so that's very encouraging. And that all this has happened in basically a year's worth of time. So good to hear that you're confident, but good to know that you're always looking to learn and stay in your A game. And just maybe nitpick at your statement. Maybe I'll turn this into a real life quiz question here, but you want to be bored when you're in the trade too, right?
I guess so. Because if it's going up, I guess I'm not bored, but I don't mind if it's...
Okay.
How do you mean?
Okay. Well, I mean, when you are in a trade, the adrenaline should not be flowing in the sense of, holy crap, I don't know what's going on. This is great. I'm making money. Oh crap, I'm losing. Oh, I'm making money. It should be a very systematic trade, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, you're absolutely spot on. Yeah, if I'm in it, I'm confident it's going to go in a certain direction. I'm not like, it's going to go down in my way. And if it doesn't, though, you're also not freaking out because you have your stop loss there, as you said, that you're comfortable with, right? Exactly, and it took me time to learn that. But now that I do that, it's like I can actually trade completely emotionless, be kind of a robot.
There you go. And when you're emotionless, it's bored. Now, to Sarah's point, she once again, I think she's actually a lawyer, not in marketing. But she got me there. Yes, if a stock is going up, it's totally normal to be having fun in the trade, to not be bored because it's going up, you're making money. But from a very, approach of what the goal is to be, yeah, you want to be bored. If you feel like you're on a roller coaster when you're in a trade, that is not good. That means you don't know what you're doing. You're making it up as you go, and making it up as you go can lead to gains. I'm not going to sit here and deny that, but long term, it's just it's not a viable strategy. But yes, of course, when things are going up, it definitely is not a board situation. So touche. You sure Mickey'd me there. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
All right. Awesome. Now I'm in an uptrend too. I'm uptrending in my my English terminology. But looking at the time, I will start to wrap things up. Did you have any final thoughts or anything that you wanted to say before we get to some of these final questions here?
I guess I'm just to say how pleased I am to be part of this community, because I think having these guys to talk to every day and having these courses to learn, it's like you can just evolve so much. What you think you know, I wish I knew what I know now a year ago, because sometimes you think you know everything, but until you actually throw yourself into the education part of it, you realize how little you actually know. So it's been I've only done this for a year, but I'm already loving it and want to carry on. So yeah,
that is always encouraging to hear. And you kind of just, I don't know, I guess you kind of answered this. Maybe you didn't, but Ches has a time machine, but because Ches isn't here, I'm going to steal that time machine and give it to you. So if you could go back, and I'm going to tell you, you cannot say I should have participated in my stocks company or my company's stock program before it doubled. That's too much of a gimme. So you can say that, but if you could take Ches's time machine back into the past when you were first getting started with all this, what would be one bit of advice that you'd give yourself?
I would say be a lot more patient and less arrogant. Stop thinking that you can read a book and then think you're an absolute genius, and have some patience. Kind of at the beginning, I was like, if something didn't go up within a day, I was like, well, I'm instantly coming out of this. So, and now I look at the stock I bought back then and it's like, gone up so much. So have a lot more patience, and that's another thing that I'm kind of learning to improve as well. So yeah, definitely have some more patience, and don't call your broker and expect to speak to the manager. That's the other thing I wish I had not have done. I guess I was probably the story of that company today, going, "Can you believe what this idiot did?"
Yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm sure that story may have passed around the office. Some girl called up and asked for her money back, and but that's honestly I'm again, thank you for sharing that, because it really just summarizes all the goofiness that we can do as new traders, and why I loved your answer about, you know what, if I just should be more patient and less arrogant, because I was as arrogant as it came. Like I said, for listeners, I wish I was kidding when I said I thought that I was I could drop out of college because I found some stainless steel muffler penny stock, and I was going to be rich from it. I mean, if that's not arrogance, I don't know what is.
That muffler is always going to come back to
yeah, arrogance. It is. But it was so shiny, Sarah. You should have seen how shiny that thing was. That they were putting it on NASCARs. Oh my goodness, the good old days. But yeah, lack of patience and abundance of arrogance can lead to not. Just take it from Sarah and I. Don't have it, and you'll be glad that you did. So, Sarah, here we go. I'm actually super excited for this because you're British. I'm talking to somebody across the pond right now, so I don't know how you guys really do things over here. But my first question to you is, what is your favorite movie?
Oh, something like Cool Runnings, maybe. That's like an awesome Sunday film that I will watch for like time and time again. Do you know Cool Runnings?
Do I know Cool Runnings? Sanka, you okay, man? Yeah, man. Yeah, of course. You want me to sing you the song right now? I won't do that. But,
I only watched that when I was like 25
you know
years old. I missed it as a child, so I'm gutted. I'm angry at myself that I didn't see that film sooner.
Let's just, this is our circle of trust right now. Let's just ignore all the people that will listen to it. But did you get a little misty-eyed at the end of that movie?
Oh my God, I don't cry anything. And I was like,
when his dad rips open his coat and it's got the Jamaican.
It's so, like, at the end as well, I was just like, oh my God. I wanted to start bobsleighing at the end of that film.
Did you get goosebumps at least? Cry
oh my God,
at all?
Yeah.
I think I got a little teary-eyed at the.
Yeah, absolutely did, man. And I watch it time and time again, and it's just, I still get emotional even now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first time for Cool Runnings. But now here's just me not minding my own business, being curious. Does London? Do you guys have a Hollywood where you produce your own movies, or does everything pretty much come from Hollywood?
No, we have. Yeah, actually, no, you're right. British film's a bit crap. So yeah, I'm always watching American movies. We have good music and stuff, but in terms of like TV shows, you guys are just, you nail it so much better than we do.
Okay, so you can watch like American TV shows too over in London?
Absolutely, yeah. I watch like everything that you guys probably do as well. Like I love Sopranos and The Wire and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, yeah, you guys absolutely nail television, trust me.
Nice, The Sopranos. That's a good one too. But I guess you guys have the BBC, right? The British Broadcasting. So we have access to that over here. So that was, now that I think about it, that was kind of a stupid question on my part, because I guess we do have access to some British stuff. But yeah, I'm not aware of many movie companies or anything. No, like
there's
that.
probably a reason for that, though, they're not really that great. And I bet you don't watch BBC that much, do you? Are you offended if I say not I would
really?
be offended if you said you did.
Okay, well, good. Then you will not be offended. What about food? What do you like? What's your favorite meal and dessert-wise?
I absolutely love American food. Like, I love pulled pork and barbecue food and ribs. I will eat my own body weight in that kind of food. But my favorite food, I've got to go with Thai, I think. It doesn't sometimes if I eat too much barbecue food, I have to sleep for 2 hours. So I'd go with Thai because it keeps me a little bit more awake to trade with.
Well, I don't know if you eat spice. Never mind. I won't go there. So yeah, Thai. What? Sorry, my own humor is just. I sometimes I crack myself.
What were you gonna
up,
say? I need to hear that.
What did you? I was gonna say. Well, I don't really buy your premise about sleeping for 2 hours because if you eat spicy Thai food, then it can have you're not exactly going to be productive in the the coming hours either.
No, I completely see your point, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I just wanted to lawyer you at least once since you've lawyered me I think 2 or 3 times. But so are you like pad Thai or do you like the curry?
Oh, man,
What's
you've
your
nailed it.
go-to
Pad
Thai dish?
is like
Because I'm a huge
yeah,
Thai
you've nailed
fan.
it. Pad Thai is like 100% where I'd go. Otherwise, maybe a green Thai curry, something like that.
Nice. Now, where are you at in the spice gamut of things?
I used to like not eat any spice, and it used to just have me crying my eyes out. But I'm totally good now. Until I went to Thailand about 6 months ago and told them that I like my food really spicy, and they all watched me while I ate it, and I needed like a pint of milk, and I was crying, and my nose was running, and they were just laughing at me. So on a level of like British spice, I'm pretty good, but yeah, if you take me to Thailand, I can't handle it.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind if I ever find myself in Thailand. But that sounds pretty intense. Pretty intense. You brought up music, that you guys have good music. So who is or what is your favorite song, band, genre, however you want to answer this?
Man, that's a really hard question. I listen to podcasts so much. I don't listen to music so much anymore, but I love like the Rolling Stones.
I can start
and
to
the
sing on
Beatles.
podcasts. Would that
For
be good?
50 minutes, that'd be amazing. Do you have the voice of an angel? Because
so you've heard, huh?
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd hang on 50 minutes of that, but yeah, if you want to try that, please do.
That's never gonna happen. Who do you like, the Beatles or now that I think about it, you guys spit out musicians like it's your job.
Yeah, no, I know. There's some. My other half, he really likes Rolling Stones, Beatles, kind of that sort of genre. So I really like that. But then if I'm trading, I actually like to have like a bit more chilled out music on in the background. So I'm so easy.
You like Coldplay?
They're all right. They're a bit wet for me.
He's British.
He's British,
yeah,
isn't he?
But he's
What does wet
What does wet mean?
I hope that means
They're
yeah,
boring?
they're a bit like it's like they're just like a bit soppy. Is that the right word?
I don't know, but I feel like they're like my favorite band, and I feel like you're Mickeying on them
Yeah,
right
I am.
now.
I'm sorry. No, do you know what? They're good. They've just they used to be amazing, and now they've gone a bit too pop for my liking.
That's a fair point. I don't know if I could really disagree with that. They do seem to be getting poppy and more poppier. One final question, just because I'm fascinated. Usually we don't get this, but I mean, come on. It's a British person, listeners. I'm going to take advantage of it. What do you like to do for fun and hobbies outside of the market and music?
I work out quite a lot. That's like my one thing where if I'm not trading, I'll try and just go to the gym. But that's really boring. So what else do I like to do? I drink in pubs quite a lot. I go to festivals quite a lot. I eat out with friends all the time. I'm like a really social person, so I kind of like to just be around people and just go out to drink and eat and that kind of thing.
All right, well, I'm going to publicly invite myself kind of along. So if my wife and I are ever over in London, will you and your other half go on a double date with us and show us around?
Oh, dude, yeah. We can take you to like an amazing rooftop that like looks over all of London. We can drink beer together. We can have barbecue food. Like, yeah, it'll be amazing.
All right, so I officially, this is going to be public, and I will hold you to this. I officially have a inside track in London now, if I ever get over there, to be shown around and all that good stuff.
Awesome. But you have to speak in a British/Scottish accent for the whole time.
I can talk in a little British accent, don't you? No, that's like North. That was. Let me try again. No, I'm doing it in my head, and that is Scottish. I will work on it. I now have. I'm going to work on it though, because I will. I'm already fitting in. I already know Mickey and wet and all that sort of stuff. So I'm making progress very rapidly.
Yeah,
here.
I can teach you some
final question here. What's that?
I said I can teach you some more English lingo.
Good. I'm all for it right now. Oh, this is totally random, and maybe this is the dumbest question ever. So if it is, please tell me. But I like history. I just like history in general. So, are you like upset about the Revolutionary War? Or you just not even care? Like, what's the general thought? Like, do you guys just think we're a bunch of crazy people, or is that just because it was like 200 years ago? Maybe you've never even thought about this, but I've always wondered that.
Do you know what? It's not something that keeps me awake at night. But
like, how's it taught maybe in school? Like, from your perspective, are you taught like growing up that we were just evil, like crazy evil people? Or I mean, because I'll tell you from my perspective, it was always like you guys were just greedy, tax this, tax that. Now you got to do this. And I mean, but I'm not, I realize there's always two sides to every story. So I guess how were you guys taught about the Revolutionary War growing up?
I guess like we always kind of see Americans as allies, but there's things like gun control and stuff like that in Britain we're like, how is that even a thing? Like, I guess it's just so different here. But they teach it loads in school. I didn't even realise that you guys thought of British as like tax hungry pigs.
Well, back then, I'm fully on board. Yeah, like if you were to say American ally, Britain would be like, okay, well, that's number one, obviously. But yeah, back then, we were just, the taxing this, then you're taxing the tea. But yeah, that's kind of...
yeah, they love a bit of that. The only thing people care about here now is Brexit. So that's a whole nother story.
That is a whole nother story. And I feel like, will you come back at some point and then win another podcast? I feel like, we could do a whole nother one just on Britain and all the sorts. So will you come back at some point in the future?
Oh, absolutely.
Good, because this has been a good time. Oh, I still got to ask that last question. Anyways, final question. 3 words, and these 3 words have to be associated with what you would describe as a successful trader. So what would those 3 words be?
I've been thinking about this one because I was like, I need to say something that not everyone else says because everyone seems to kind of say the same 3, but they are always right. I think my first one would be like accountable. So you need to make yourself accountable for what happens. Don't blame the market. Don't blame the stock. Whatever. If your trade isn't going your way, it's because you've kind of made a mistake. So you need to admit when you're wrong.
Preach it.
That's kind of my biggest one. The second one, I think, to be successful, you need like an appetite to want to learn. You need to have to always be improving your strategies and wanting to learn more. The market isn't going to stay the same all the time. So take time to learn and have that eagerness to want to kind of throw yourself into educating yourself, basically. And the last one is like patience. And I say that because I didn't have that. And that's still something I'm working on. So I think like they're the 3 things that I think make you a successful trader. And there's so many more.
There are so many more, but I can tell you're in marketing because those first, not that the third one was bad, but yeah, accountable and appetite. Appetite, that's a fantastic one because, yeah, you really do have to have an appetite for a lot of stuff, not only education, but just like we already talked about earlier, a passion. So that was, I thought for sure the third one was going to be an A, but came back with patience. But like you said, many people have said it, but that's probably because there's a lot of trueness that goes behind it. So Sarah, thank you very, very much. What time is it there right now? Like 9 o'clock?
It's 8 o'clock actually.
8 o'clock. Okay. So, well, thank you for hanging out and taking some time out of your evening to share your story, to share one of the best, if not the best, losing stories ever, and just to keep it real. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having you. It's having me. It's been a pleasure.
Good. And you already said that you'll give me a tour of London.
Totally.
You already said that you'll be back on the podcast, and I do see you in the chat room. So we will be in touch for sure. And again, I thank you very much, Sarah. I'm all flustered right now because I want to keep asking more questions, but we'll just have to end it here. So thank you, Sarah, very much. I appreciate it.
You too, man. Thank you.
For you listeners out there, some final things before we go. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to check out the channel as a whole. Click the like button. If you don't click the like button for this interview with all the stories and good stuff, then you're just like not a human being. So click that like button, check out the channel. Hopefully you ultimately decide to subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players, make sure to subscribe so that you can be kept up to date when new episodes and such are released. And especially on iTunes, if you could leave us a rating, that would be very, very helpful. That goes a long way. And finally, if you're listening on claytrader.com itself, click that share button, leave us comments down below. We do read those. I will reply to them. So if you want a very quick and efficient way to leave feedback, suggestions, what have you, that is a way you can do it. So thank you again to Sarah, and thank you to all you listeners out there. We will see you back next week.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.